biodegradable bridges, living structures that respond to the environment. Biodegradable bridges, living structures that respond to the environment. Living structures such as this traditional bridge in India made of veins provide a source of inspiration for entirely new materials created. A stock photo. Living structures such as this traditional bridge in India made of veins provide a source of inspiration for entirely new materials. Credit iStock photo. Researchers are looking into new materials to lay the foundations for living structures that respond to their environment. Researchers are looking into new materials to lay the foundations for living structures that respond to their environment. They aim to create self-sustaining infrastructures that can monitor their condition and even repair themselves. Researchers are looking into new materials to lay the foundation for living structures that respond to their environment. They aim to create self-sustaining infrastructure that can monitor their condition and even repair themselves. Researchers are looking into new materials to lay the foundations for living structures that respond to their environment. They aim to create self-sustaining infrastructure that can monitor their condition and even repair themselves. When NEC is not busy reading technical papers about vibrating bridges. When Eileen Chatters is not busy reading technical papers about vibrating bridges, smart infrastructures, and data-driven engineering, she enjoys immersing herself in science fiction novels. I like pondering on conventional ideas and imagine a world that is yet to come, says Charles, professor of structural mechanics at ETH Zurich. Indeed, there is a ring of SCI-FI to it when she talks about applications that her research could someday lead to one such futurist vision is bridges that grow out of a handle of seeds and consist entirely of organic material. When Eileen Chas is not busy reading technical papers about vibrating bridges, smart infrastructures, and data-driven engineering, she enjoys immersing herself in science fiction novels. I like pondering on conventional ideas and imagine a world that is yet to come, says Chattis, professor of structures mechanisms at ETH Zurich. Indeed, there is a ring of SCFA to it when she talks about application that her research could someday lead to. One such futurist vision is bridges that grow out of a handful of seeds and consist entirely of organic material. This 38-year-old civil engineering whose professorship has received funding from the Albert Lucica City since 2010, specializes in structural health monitoring. Chatterjee diagnoses the health of dams, bridges, wind turbines, wind turbines, aircraft, and vehicles using sensors, algorithms that convert and process signals, and machine learning. Currently, engineers have to either externally install the sensors needed to measure tension, deformation, acceleration, wind, and strain, or incorporate these devices into initial structure design. However, this is usually an extra expense and a disruptive factor, especially on building sites, explains Chatzy. Crews have to install countless capable or transmit the mirror data to a central computer for analysis. This is why we'd like to develop infrastructure and machine with instinct intelligence that are aware of their condition without externally mounted sensors, says Chatterjee. This 38-year-old civil engineering whose professorship have received funding from the Albert Lucent Shifton since 2011, specializes in structural health monitoring. Chatzy diagnoses the health of dams, bridges, wind turbines, aircraft, and vehicles using sensors, algorithms, and that convert and process signals, and machine learning. Currently, engineers have to either externally install the sensors needed to measure tensions, deformation, acceleration, wind, and strain, or incorporate these devices into the initial structural design. However, this is usually an extra expense and a disruptive factor, especially on building sites, explained Chaz. Crews have to install countless cables to transmit the measured data to a central computer for analysis. That's why we'd like to develop infrastructures and machines with intrinsic intelligence that are aware of their condition even without externally mounted sensors, says Chatterjee. Consensus concrete. An unprecedented class of materials provide the underpinning for this kind of self-aware infrastructure, and researchers around the world have been busy exploring their mysteries for the past few years. One example is intrinsic self-sensing concrete mixed with carbon nanotubes, and nickel powder. This material monitors its condition autonomously to provide information about cracks, moisture, or unusual heavy loads. This data is coaxed from the structure by applying voltage and constant measuring the electric resistance. An unprecedented class of materials provides the underpinning for this kind of self-aware infrastructure, and researchers around the world have been busy exploring their mysteries for the past few years. One example is intrinsic self-sensing concrete mixed with carbon fiber, carbon nanotubes, and nickel powder. This material monitors its condition autonomously to provide information about cracks, moistures, or unusual heavy loads. This data is coaxed from the structure by applying voltage and constantly measuring the electrical resistance. A second line of research into material with half-healing properties points in a similar direction. Last year, in a project inspired by plant photosynthesis, U.S. researchers presented a polymer that can repair itself by reacting with carbon dioxide in the surrounding air. Other groups are working with bacteria that form lime when exposed to rainwater and other moisture added to concrete. They can seal small cracks on their own. Experiments are underway that with microvascular networks that release healing fluid when an injury occurs, responding much like the human organs to a skin wound. They polymerize to fill the fractures. Polymerize to fill the fractures. A second line of research into material with self-healing properties points in a similar direction. A second line of research into materials with self-healing properties points in a similar direction. Last year, in a project inspired by plant photosynthesis, U.S. researchers presented a polymer that can repair itself by reacting with carbon dioxide in the surrounding air. Other groups are working with bacteria that form lime when exposed to rainwater and other moisture added to concrete. They can seal small cracks on their own. Experiments are underway with more microvascular networks that release healing fluid when an injury occurs, responding much like the human organism to a skin wound. They polymerize to fill the fracture, incorporating biological functions. We are seeing a fusion of material science and biology, says Mike Tibbett, professor at the Macromolecular Engineering Laboratory at ETH Zurich. He notes that in the past, chemical and other engineers had looked to nature primarily for inspiration, for mimicking properties such as the lotus blossom ability to repel water. Today, we are trying to incorporate biological functions into materials. These efforts are fueled by breakthroughs in materials science and biotechnology, and DNA engineering and new molecular biological methods such as gene editing can now serve to introduce new biological functions into cells for very specific purpose. Advertised manufacturing using 3D printers enables high-resolution data-based material design, combine concepts from a number of fields: chemical engineering, polymer chemistry, materials science, and system biology. Tibet's research aimed to develop soft tissue-like polymer for biomedical application. Incorporating biological functions, we are seeing a fusion of material science and biology, says Mark Tibbett, professor at the Macromolecular Engineering Laboratory at ETH Zurich. He noticed that in the past, chemical and other engineerings had looked to nature primarily for inspiration for mimicking property, such as the lotus blossom's ability to repel water. Today, we are trying to incorporate biological function into material. These efforts are fueled by breakthroughs in material science and biotechnology, DNA engineering, and new molecular biological methods such as critics gene editing can now serve to introduce new biological function into cells for very specific purpose. Additive manufacturing using 3D printing enable high-resolution database material design, combine concepts from a number of fields: chemical engineering, polymer chemistry, material science, and systems biology. Tabet's research aims to develop soft tissue-like polymers for biomedical applications. The fascinating thing about living organisms is that they perceive their environment, react to it, and even heal themselves when injured. We want to instill these qualities in materials and infrastructures, says Tabet. He believes future applications could include house plants that clean the air and change the color of their leaves to call attention to air quality, the buildings that change with the seasons to keep their interior climate comfortable. The fascinating things about living organisms is that they perceive their environment, react to it, and even heal themselves when injured. We want to instill these qualities in material and infrastructure, said Tabet. He believes future applications could include house plants that clean the air and change the door of their leaves to call attention to air quality, and buildings that change with the seasons to keep their interior climate comfort. And buildings that change with the seasons to keep their interior climate comfortable. Tibet met Elaine Charles a year ago at an event for exploring radically new avenues for research. Although the two work on very different skills, they often talk about the same concepts. Recurring topics including material that can heal themselves. Recently, they began to foster dialogue among researchers at Earth about living, self-sensing and self-healing material and infrastructure. Materials scientists, chemical, civil and electrical engineers, biologists, and computer scientists have all joined in to develop material with the goal of working at different skills right from the start instead of scaling them at a later stage. ETH Zurich is the perfect hub for this venture because it has so much expertise in all the key areas, says Tabet. An initial workshop and a symposium are scheduled to take place in spring 2020 for experts to discuss the matter. The idea is to define research questions and then launch the first transdisciplinary projects. Tibet met Elaine Chas a year ago at an event for exploring radically new avenues of research. Although the two work on very different skills, they often talk about the same concepts. Recurring topics include material that can heal themselves. Recently, they began to foster dialogue among researchers at ETH about living, self-sensing and self-healing materials and infrastructures. Material scientists, chemical, civil, and electrical engineering, biologists, and computer scientists have all joined in to develop material with the goal of working at different skills right from the start instead of scaling them at a later stage. ETH Zurich is the perfect hub for this venture because it has so much expertise in all the key area, says Tabet. An initial workshop and a symposium are scheduled to take place in spring 2020 for experts to discuss the master. The idea is to define research questions and then launch the first transdisciplinary project. Living with animated environments. This is fresh avenue of research that Chas the Tibet have embarked upon, and at this stage there are many more questions than answers. One big question is how to assure safety and stability when infrastructure develop the life of their own. Other is how humans and animals will react to an engineered environment consisting of living organisms, and what happens if a synthetic organism leaches from a new building material into surrounding waters. We have to think about bioethical questions and safety concerns from day one, says Tibet. Living with animated environments. This is a fresh avenue of research that Chas and Tibet have embarked upon. And at this stage, there are many more questions than answers. 怎么了？怎么好了？考完了也朗读完了。朗读完了，那4个题还不会做啊？写上了。你脑子里知道你脑子里什么是没有了吧？